there is a crisis of legitimacy, and the crisis of legitimacy has gone alongside with the drive to war by the USA. Let's not forget that the real beginnings of people's awakening and the deepening of their cynicism started with Iraq, really, truly. The way that we were pushed into the war in Iraq on a whole load of lies, which turned out to be lies, and WikiLeaks was part of the process of revealing that they were lies. And not only did it turn out that the things we were told were lies, but we got evidence that our leaders knew they were lying to us from the beginning. Now, we have to go back 20 years and remember how people tended to think then. I was a communist then, or I already knew they were lying. But most people around me believed that the people in power, when they said things, they believed them. And they believed that the people in power were acting for the best, had the best of intentions, were just doing their best in difficult situations, were genuinely trying to do the things they said they were trying to do. And Iraq was the beginning of people learning that that wasn't true, learning that their views didn't count. 2 million people on the streets protesting against going to war in Iraq, and the government felt safe to ignore them, right? Yes. So there was a sense of like, how did that happen? And lots of people went home kind of demoralized from that. Oh, there's no point organizing. But they also went home beginning to be cynical about the media and about politicians. And that cynicism has grown and grown and grown until we have a situation, and it's been fed by many things. A big part of it is economic crisis of the system, which is making people poorer. It's the increasing gap between their real life experience and what the people in charge tell them. They tell them they've never had it so good and they live in the best country and they're free. And they're living in a situation where they see their life getting worse all the time, year on year, decade on decade. So there's a jarring disconnect between what the people in power say about their freedom and their liberty and what they're experiencing. And then, of course, there's not only been Iraq, there's been Libya, there's been Syria, there's been COVID, there's been, for us, we had Brexit. For you guys, there was Trump and Russiagate. You're not in America, are you? But, for Americans. So there's this, there have been many, many waves. And then, of course, there's this massive inflation crisis that the whole world is suffering from now because of the fact that the imperialist bankers have been printing money to escape from the last financial crisis. And all that's done is kick the can down the road and mean that the financial crisis that's coming is going to be even worse. And of course, the poor are constantly expected to pay the price for all of this. So there's this growing disconnect between the people in power and the people on the ground. And in particular, this crisis of our faith in the concept of democracy. In Britain, we had it with Brexit. We were told we had a choice whether we're in the EU or not, and we voted. And then we had a 3.5-year parliamentary sit-in while our rulers went, how the hell do we not do Brexit? Or how do we do a Brexit that isn't really Brexit, but sort of looks like it might be to fool people? And essentially wouldn't do anything apart from argue about how not to do Brexit in Parliament. Is that for 3.5 years after they told us that we had a democratic right to make this decision and gave it to us, then they were like, no, wrong answer. And for a week after that we gave the wrong answer, all anyone could talk about was whether it was right for poor, uneducated people to be allowed to vote. They were so upset that we voted the wrong way. So there's this total crisis of legitimacy. But what's underpinning all of that is the fact that people are discovering truths about the system, right? It's not that, the system used to work and now it doesn't. But the system is in crisis, in decline. It's unable to deliver the bribe to working people that stop them from noticing what was wrong with the system. Now it's becoming more and more evident to more and more people that the system doesn't deliver for them. And the thing is, it never will, Kevork. There isn't an answer. There isn't a way to make democracy work again. Democracy and capitalism was always only democracy for the rich. Yeah. We put up with it when our lives were all right. But as we start to realize that this system offers nothing to us except for a descent into poverty and a drive into war, and that there's no way out of that within capitalism, then I think people have to start to realize that if we want sanity, we need to get out of capitalism.